Geir Anderson Museum is an art museum located in Cairo, Egypt. It is situated adjacent to the Mosque of Ahmad ibn Tulun in the Sayyida Zainab neighborhood. The building takes the name from the Major Geir Anderson Pasha, who resided in the house between 1935 and 1942 with special permission from the Egyptian government.
I think it's really beautiful. I completely understand his impulse to come here and collect as much as he can and really embrace the culture. So if I had a bunch of money and a beautiful house here, I would totally do the same thing.
Being the modern component, although reflecting back as an Englishman's way of accumulating the wealth of the many cultures that he touched and bringing it all together into a really splendid home that he made for himself.
So are you interested in the history more, like you want to see more history? Because we've seen that your tour was all about maybe history and Islamic architecture, where this area is full of plenty and different and diverse collection.
Well, the tour was primarily 6,000, 2,000, years of history. Today is a much more recent piece, and again, this was only from 80 years ago, and he was collecting the history of the 100 years before that. So it's a much more modern approach, but still very traditional, and especially the way the home is divided into its men and women sections, and he, in this place, each room has its own theme, which is very fun exposure.
So I'm going to ask you the same question as Hannah. What did grab your attention, pieces or rooms or the whole architecture?
Similar to Hannah, I think the separation of the genders as they lived in the house and moved and entertained, that was something I knew about, but seeing the way that it laid out was pretty cool. And then beyond that, each of the rooms of the house having themes really provided a nice exposure.
The museum is noted for being one of the best preserved examples of the 17th century domestic architecture left in Cairo, and also for its vast collection of antiques and antiquities and other objects.
Geir Anderson left after his retirement. He came here in Egypt in 1907 with his army, and he retired after his retirement in 1924. He preferred to stay here in Egypt, and he wrote in his notes, which exposed in Albert and Victoria in London Museum, Albert and Victoria Museum in London, that I like Egypt very much, and I consider it my second house, or my second country. Then he preferred to stay in Egypt and not to travel in his traveled abroad to his country. But when his country called him to return back to his country again, because during the Second War in he already returned back to his country in 1942, and Geir Anderson has title Basha from King Farouk in 1943, and also he died in 1945.
Is there certain rooms and certain places that you see that grabbed your attention?
The hidden room in the house, that was like you open the cabinet and there's a little space overlooking the party room. I thought that was really cool to see. Also the banquet room, I thought that was it's a pretty special place. It's all very impressive here.
Did you take a gaze on those pieces, like ancient pieces?
Yeah. I like looks like he's got just like a mummy. He's like sitting in the corner of the rooms. You never know what you're going to see. It seems like every room you walk into, it's something different from a different part of the world or the country.
I think it creates a really beautiful mythology at the very least, and gives the place a real sense of history and sense of place.
So what did grab your attention while you were seeing it around?
I mean, there's a lot about just living here that I didn't really know, like the separate spaces for the men and women to live, and the thing that caught my attention most was the party room, and then the upstairs area for the ladies to watch the parties. I thought that was really funny. I also loved the way that in the party room, if you were proposing to someone, you would be below, they would be above. You would say yes or no by like what you threw out of the window or like how you closed the blinds. I thought that was really funny.
You know, this place owns a lot of antiquities and unique masterpieces, which, of course, Geir Anderson was a collector. So, what did also grab your attention from these pieces?
Well, it was really interesting that on top of the Egyptian pieces, he has a ton from Asia, a ton from India. And just the fact that all of them exist in the same space is really very cool.
Now we inside the summer room or moon room for men also. We can see here this column return to Greek-Roman period, and we can see here's architecture of the room as arch to can carry the heavier weight, okay? And we can see two benches. These benches to seat for men, and also we can see here all of these cupboard, built in cupboard. Geir Anderson put all of these cupboard inside the house, okay? We can see here also this bench return to Ottoman period, but Geir Anderson add sample to him sarwo tree. We can see here the magnificent also ceiling, which consists of wood column, and decorated with floral motifs and also geometric motifs, and also with the golden inscriptions. Hag Muhammad, the man who built the house, wrote his name inside an oval, Hag Muhammad ibn Galmam, and also he put the date of the house inside the second oval.
A beautiful woman waved to me from one of the arabesque window and invited me to take a look at the ancient house. Once I walked in, I immediately fell in love with it. These words were quoted from Geir Anderson's memoir Reads, and was the starting point of the story of a normal house that has turned into a dazzling museum. Shuruk Bikir, Nile Cruise.